I don't know whether it's because we want everyone to know how good home education is, or whether we want everyone to know that we're definitely not failing at this thing, or if it's because we just don't want to hear that reply again of, well, stop complaining, you chose this lifestyle. But I don't know if we're always very honest about home education, or at least we don't always give the full picture. And I think it's really important that we do, so I'll go first. I'm Rachel, I've got 3 kids, I live in the north of England. We're in the middle of moving house, which is why I'm out here and not inside where all that chaos is. I home educate, and yep, it's hard. It can be overwhelming, it can be exhausting, it can be beyond lonely. You're kind of stuck in between this tension of feeling like a bit of a failure kind of all of the time, and yet wanting to tell everyone, because it's true, that it's gone really well and that you haven't made a mistake and this is the right thing for your family, but feeling like you're doing the wrong thing, and it's hard. Or it's dreaming and planning and creating all these wonderful learning opportunities for your kid, and then you have to throw it all out the window because one kid falls in the toilet and the other one discovers a mouse nest in his desk, and suddenly on 3 hours of sleep you've got to pull it all together and then head off to a home ed meet a bunch of strangers, and you organised it when you're feeling far more confident than you're feeling that day, and it's hard. You get the picture. I'm sure you're living some sort of that picture right now. So that's why we're starting these honest conversations. We want to share the fullness of the home ed picture. One, because it's true, things can be really hard when you're home educating. And 2, if you hear what other people are going through, it makes you feel a little bit less alone. And hopefully along the way, we can also offer some encouragements too. So let's begin. Something that I think is a really important thing to remember when you home educate is that it's okay to change your mind. And so I'm going to just share a few of the struggles that I've had with that process of changing my mind, and then maybe share some of the things that, well, I'm still learning about that as well. I used to be anti-home ed, and I don't just mean like, oh, I thought they were a bunch of weirdos and that I'd never do that, but like a full-on card-carrying member of the hating home ed brigade. I just thought it was ridiculous. I thought it was just audacious that parents could think that they, without the training and the experience that I had as a qualified teacher, that they could teach their children at home. Bear in mind, I didn't have any kids, and bear in mind, I never met a home educator in my life, but I was utterly convinced. Now, obviously, I changed my mind, and I could go into the whys and wherefores and how I changed my mind, but really what I wanted to say is that that process of being wrong, basically, and learning what was right for my family has been really powerful. It's a humbling process, but it also helps me really understand what my children are going through, that they're learning new things, they're unlearning things, they're trying out and solving problems every single day, and that process is really powerful. It's about making future thinkers, it's not about failure. So me changing my mind, like, yes, I had the wrong idea. It wasn't just that I changed my opinion on something that could go either way. I was wrong. But that process of humbling myself to realise that it wasn't true, of researching, of finding out, of changing, that has been a really powerful mindset to have in home education, because I am constantly changing my mind on things. I'm constantly growing, and I'm glad of that, because then I get to create, like I said, future thinkers rather than failure. Now, honestly, sometimes it still feels very much like failure when I change my mind. Sorry about that. I don't know if you can hear the screams. There's a school next door to us, so very apt background noise of school children screaming. But yeah, I think it's really important to go through that process of changing your mind. Another thing, we've been moving house, like I said, and another thing that I've been doing is looking through old photos, because you get quite nostalgic when you move house, especially when your kids were really little, when you started in the house. And I was looking back at activities that I did with my first kid when he was 2 years old. We used to do phonics, yes, at 2 years old. At the time, I did not think that that was ridiculous. In fact, I mean, we had fun doing it. It wasn't terrible at all. But now, my third kid is 2. We don't do that at all. And in fact, one of the reasons why I started home education was because I thought that schools didn't have high expectations of academics. I hate that word academics, but they didn't have high expectations of that, and that's something that I wanted to start off earlier with my own kids. And now I feel completely on the other side, where I want to deliberately delay some academics for my kids. Again, I hate that word academics, but I'm not going to go and explicitly teach some of those things as early as I did before. Completely changed my mind. And there's quite a few things with that, with the kind of style of home education that I have changed. And I honestly still constantly beat myself up that I'm not being very consistent. Like, that's a major flaw in me. I'm not consistent, and you need to be consistent to be a home educator and to make progress. I need to be doing pretty much the same thing every day, and let's have a routine, and let's do this, and a rhythm and all of this. And I feel terrible when I don't keep to that same style or that same technique or that same educational philosophy. But in doing this video and in writing down some of my thoughts about what I've learned during quite a short home ed journey so far, is that it's not inconsistency, it's compassion. And it's compassion on myself, realizing when things aren't working for me and aren't being a help to me. And it's compassion on my kids, realizing that what we're doing isn't serving them best. So that idea that inconsistency is a bad thing, that changing our mind is a bad thing, that we kind of wax and wane as home educators, that we don't just keep to like one particular thing and go for it, and somehow that's a flaw and a failing, when actually it's one of, it sounds really cliched, but it's one of the powerful things about home education, that we can change, and our change can be driven by compassion for ourselves and for our children and for our community, that we can change up what we're doing. So I don't want to sound preachy all in these videos. Please let me know if you think I sound like I'm preaching at you. But it's been really interesting to just sit down and think, like, what have been the struggles for me as a home educator? What are the things that I still find really hard? And should I have a little bit of a different mindset about those? And so in terms of changing my mind, whether that's a routine, whether it's a read aloud, whether it's a whole education philosophy, that it's okay to change my mind. It's okay to change my opinions. It's okay to change my practice, because not only am I creating a mindset and an ethos in my house that means that children can solve problems in that way, that they're not afraid to get things wrong, that they can be thinking of the future rather than getting caught up in the things that they did wrong in the past. And it also means that our educational philosophy is driven by compassion about what is really the best thing for the people in our home. So that felt like a lot of talking. I'm gonna have to go back into the chaos right now and then run to different appointments, and it's one of those days, I know we all have them, where you feel like you're here, there and everywhere and not achieving anything. But as I go to this next appointment, I'm going to be thinking about what I have done right today, what my kids have enjoyed, and how even the process of taking them along on all these different errands is really powerful for them. Anyway, I could wax lyrical all day long, and I don't want to do that. Let me know if there's anything in particular you want to discuss in this series. And again, let me know if you think I'm preachy, if you think I've got it wrong. I love to learn from other people. So if you've got any encouragement for me, or if you've got anything that you think, I think Rachel needs to change her mind on that one too, then definitely let me know. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.